branding is about the why and marketing is more about the how. And the two work together. And we're not opposed to direct response. Direct response is on a spectrum here. Branding is here. You need both. But in 2020 and 2021, there were people that were more in direct response. Now people are championing what brand looks like after Alex Hormozi.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Perfectly Mentored. I'm your host, Jason Portnoy, and on this episode, I welcome my good friend, Bijal Patel. She is the branding queen, and we're not talking branding in the sense of what your logo should look like or the colors of your website. No, branding is a lot more, and Bijal is going to go over exactly what that entails and why it's so important. Now more than ever, it's vital, it's crucial for your business to succeed, for your business to grow and scale. Now is the time for you to focus on it with all the platform changes, all the advertising changes. And now you look online, all the gurus are now going towards branding. Bijal is an expert in this space, and you're going to hear exactly why she is my go-to and why she should be your go-to for branding as well. You're not going to want to miss this one. Check it out. Bijal, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks for having me, Jason. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. Traditionally we start podcasts with tell me a little bit about yourself and your story, but I'm pretty sure you, for some reason, think people don't care about your story. I'm going to challenge you a little bit, and I think people will care about your story just a little bit, only in the sense of like, you are the branding queen right now. And if anyone follows you on social media, they see this real confident woman out there posting stuff, really strong opinions, really going to tell you straight, matter of fact. I'll tell you if your brand sucks. I'll tell you if it's great or not. But how did that come about? Because people don't just come out of the gate firing like that. And the ones that do tend to be fake, but there's usually a progression to becoming that type of person. So, we don't have to go into the traditional path, like tell me how you got started and down that road, but how'd you develop into becoming the branding queen?
Yeah, I love that. All right, I'll go backward from where I'm at. So I never planned to be the branding queen. And this still makes me laugh, obviously, a little bit. I'm like, that's cute, and I'm building an empire, and so maybe queen is appropriate, but I don't use cutesy things like that. I think you become king or queen in your market segment when you really own who you're meant to be. So this is going to sound hilarious, but I'm not traditionally trained in branding. I haven't done this for most of my career. And like I said, I didn't even set out to do it. So sometimes though, you have to understand life is going to throw you curveballs and it's going to throw you punches. But if the shoe fits, wear it. And what happened for me is back in 2020, at that point in time, I had my own commercial interior design business called Lodge. We'd been in business for a year. I had launched the business because I got fired from my well-paying corporate job after having my second baby. So after having, breastfed him and I came back to work, it was my second child. And my bosses pulled me into a room and they were like, we don't think you're the same anymore. And I looked at them, these like two 55-year-old guys. And I was like, I'm kind of breastfeeding a baby. Like, I'm not exactly the same, but like, what's up? They're like, we don't think you're a good fit here anymore. And I was like, you mean on that project? Yeah, no, I agree. I think I can rework the concept. They're like, no, we mean here. And I was like at the company? And it was like, when you try to kill a bug and it doesn't die? I guess I was a queen bee. I was like asking questions and they were like, oh God, like she doesn't know we're breaking up with her.
She just doesn't get it.
She doesn't get it. And it was one of those. And then I was like, oh, this is a joke. Because I was like this tight with my boss. I was this right-hand woman. And so I had when I told you I had no idea, I thought they were pulling a prank on me and the cameras were going to come in. And when they were like, Bijal, listen, we love you. We love your personality. We love your energy, but we don't think you're a good fit to be here at the company anymore. I sat there and I was like, they're not. I'm still waiting for the cameras. I'm like, after I helped win us the $25 million contract downtown, and they literally, Jason, were like, and we really appreciate you for that, Bijal. We said, really, we do. But still, we don't think it's a good fit. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. I won us a Class A building, complete renovation in downtown Houston, high-rise building that was like my boss's dream. And it was him the other guy who's a boss, and me, and the three of us led the presentation in order to win that against 7 firms, design firms downtown. And he hadn't had an opportunity like this in his like 25 years of being an architect. So it was a blow. I went back to my desk though, and I realized I had to wash over this peaceful feeling. Then I realized I had kept my boxes mostly packed from pregnancy. So I subconsciously was ready to move on, but I literally needed to be cut out. So fast forward to that, I launched my own design business, within a couple months. And in January of 2019, I launched my business. First month, I have a 10K month immediately with interior design. First year, I have a 6-figure year. So I'm hitting these numbers. I'm feeling really confident. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. But then March of 2020 comes and COVID hits. And at that time, I had to make a decision. I'm like, commercial real estate's going to be totally decimated. And let's be honest, I thought I was going to love commercial interior design when I was the boss and I had my own business. But I realized I actually had fallen out of love with it. And after 13 years of building out 500,000 square feet buildings and beautiful hotels and winning a bunch of design awards, I no longer loved it anymore, even when I was the one who was quote unquote the boss. And it was time for a new dream, but I didn't know what it was. So I ended up joining a mastermind online. And during that time, I realized there was this whole world of online business. I decided I would take interior design online. So I kept trying for like a month. It wasn't working. People were interested, but nobody would close. And in that, I would accidentally see people's posts. If you recall, here's logo A, here's logo B. Tell me which one you love. I remember looking at it. I was like, what the heck is this? This is total trash. And so I would come on there. I was like, hi, you guys have obviously never worked with a Fortune 500 company and like know nothing. This is a trashy logo. What is Upwork? What is Fiverr? What are you guys doing here? This looks terrible. And through that, I picked up some gigs doing branding. I'm like, hey, let me just fix this for you while I'm busy taking this interior design business online. And so the shoe fit, it was like first client was like $3,500. He cried on the call when I unveiled him his branding. And he was like, this is like how did you know who I was without knowing who I am? How did you know this? And I'm like, well, I felt it through. It's a set of questions. We know your mission. We know your vision. We know your values. We know who you're serving in the marketplace. And that felt really awesome. And I did a few more of that. And someone challenged me, what if you, Bijal, just focus on branding for 90 days and you just let interior design drift to the back burner for just 90 days? And it really pissed me off when she said that. It triggered me. And she invited me in. She's like, if it triggered you, do you think you're white knuckling your dream? And now she really triggered me. And I was pissed off, but she was right. So within 90 days, I realized I don't know how. Like I said, I haven't formally been trained in it. I don't know why, but the shoe fit. And in a couple months after that, I hit like my first 40K month. And I remember sitting there, I was like, you can make $40,000 in a month? Like I was like, why and how? And so sometimes if you're listening to this and you're unsure of what direction to go, I want you to take heart that sometimes there's intuition, sometimes there's universe, sometimes it's God, but you can listen to those whispers and say, why am I being guided in this direction? So I believe that there was a part of that was there, Jason, that set me on this trajectory to now be called branding queen. Maybe it's why it makes me laugh a little bit. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I guess branding is technically what people say about you. But there's a part of me that isn't sure how it happened. It just did.
Well, I call you branding queen because that's what you gave me in the show notes to call you. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just messing.
Please refer to me as branding queen while I politely push back the compliment.
Exactly. We rehearsed this before. I want to bring you back. There's a lot that I could go on based off that story, but I want to bring you back to the Bijal who was in that room when the two bosses fired you or kind of let you go. Now you manage your own team. You're a boss. You've let people go. You've hired people, right? You've had to make the tough decisions and do that. What do you think you've learned from that experience or things that you may have taken away from that? Or do you see things a little bit differently now that you're your own boss? Was there some stuff that you now see and look back at and be like, maybe it wasn't that bad or that cold as I thought it was, or maybe it was as cold and now you could bring in a little bit of warmth when you do it, or maybe you realize you're supposed to be cold? What are the takeaways from now that you have that distance between that time?
Yeah. So now it's been like, close to 5 years. I am actually really grateful for that moment, and I cherish it. I think I was given a gift. I've thought about that a lot. I don't like how cold it was. The person who fired me I learned later, had this like cold, like stone cold serial killer face that he would take on when he fires people. And he's known now, apparently, he's very normally an affable, nice guy. And he took on this stone cold serial killer look. I still remember how he looked when he did it. And it was expressionless. I don't think that was necessary. Like, I still could have just been fired had he not acted so strange. But it put this chill in my veins of like, it frightened me. Like, I was like, not that I thought he was going to kill me, but I had never met that version of him. And I saw a very dark part of him in his soul. And that bothered me after that. So it's interesting you bring that up. I decided from that point forward, no matter how uncomfortable, he was uncomfortable making the call. That's why he put on that face, because he did really like me as a person. I was his right hand. I had just been given a pay raise the year before, and he was going to bring champagne to my performance review. And then I told him I was pregnant. Had no idea. But this all fell apart, Jason, because I won a design award, a prestigious one in Houston, and he wasn't on the project. So after that, he didn't come to the ceremony. He never publicly congratulated me. And then he started to nitpick me to death. So even if I were to think it was just about the baby, it wasn't. And so what I take forward in my own company, no need for, stone cold killer vibes when you're letting someone go. I get that it's a serious conversation, but you don't need to come across like an axe murderer. The other side is a human being who may not be a right fit, may have made some mistakes, maybe the worst person you've ever hired on your planet. But as being a CEO, I believe we have a responsibility that's ethical to leave people better than we found them. And I don't think it's necessary to don't handle people like that. It doesn't mean you pull punches, but you show up with, if you did have some emotions and it's hard for you, it's okay to express that. The second thing is, from that day forward, it shaped the vision of my company. And I decided that I would actively employ moms. I would celebrate who moms are. And I'm proud to say at this point in time, I've paid for 2 people's maternity leave as being a startup owner of a company. Because I believe in it. And I think that women need to be supported when they go on maternity leave. And I was just talking to you about your upcoming baby. I emphasize for men also to take paternity leave, that this is an important moment of your life. So it's changed and influenced the way I look at it. The last point is, I really did deserve to be fired. I was done. I had shown that I had moved on, and I don't really like being there. And I hadn't noticed it. So I actually really appreciate the fact that they saw that I was done with the place and I couldn't handle their mediocrity. They saw it first, but it would have been nice to know that I was slipping and I was done, and I was no longer showing signs of being an A player within their space. So I had outgrown them. That may have not come out of their mouth with their ego, but I had stopped showing that same professional excitement that I first had. And I didn't see it for myself.
I love all those, but I think there's a fourth one. Listening to your story, I think there's a fourth lesson that I hear in it, and I think it's I have no issues with someone on my team being better than me.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I want. I don't want, I want to surround myself with A players, like A stars who know how to do things that I can't. We all have our strengths. We know what we're doing, but I think it's impossible to build, as you're building, an empire without people who are super talented and maybe more talented than you in some areas, and find those people, because not everyone wants to be their own boss. I think owners, we get a little bit intimidated thinking that we're going to hire this person, they're going to become superstars, and they're going to want to go out on their own. They're going to want to do that. You, like everyone else who's listening who runs their own business, know that it's not as easy as that of like, oh, I'm really good at this, I should go start my own business. Because you're really good at one thing, but now are you good at managing people? Are you good at hiring? Are you good at finances? Are you good at all? You got to wear a lot of hats as a CEO, and going out and starting your own and putting your money where your mouth is, and the risk. A lot of people just don't want that. They just want to be superstars on a really good team and work for somebody. And I think we let ego get in the way sometimes, that we think like, oh, we're going to train this person and they're going to become so good. I got to get rid of this person because he's better than me. And then he's going to go on his own and take everything. I think that happens a minority of the time versus people just want security sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was hard. It took me 2 full years to believe that he really did fire me because of that. And it actually took one of our clients that had known him for decades. And she told me at lunch, she was an older woman. She goes, "You were nipping at his heels." Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, no.
But an employee could never nip at the heels of an owner. Like I don't like that. That doesn't make sense.
He wasn't an owner. He's partially an owner. He was.
But in a position to get of authority, right? At a position to do things, right? So I don't get that. The other way I want to take things of where you said was, people, you made a pivot in a time where people were talking about logos and online kind of boomed during COVID. We live in a very direct response driven world where sometimes brand could take a backseat. And people sit there and say, no, I just need to get the sales. I need to get the immediate response, and I don't need to build that brand. I think slowly now we're seeing a shift back to that of branding becoming more and more important as targeting is going away and all these different things with online ads and the touch points and all these platforms and taking up our time, that brand's becoming important. Why do you think it is that so many people ignore that component and they're just like, man, how do I just go out and make sales?
They don't understand brand or branding because it's intangible and it takes it's longer running for the ROI, like the return on your investment, return on the impact, return on the influence that you've made is longer, but it's stronger. So when you do end up not just attracting or getting clients, you're literally creating them because they have followed your brand. They have fallen in love with you. They've consumed all your content. It's a longer nurture cycle. So it's the difference between being transactional. Direct response is like, do you want this? Do you want this? They come in and they're like, they don't trust you. They charge back. They complain. They refund. They overuse your resources, or they ghost you. How many times has that happened in the online space? Well, you didn't earn their trust. You earned one swipe. Totally different. Brand earns trust. So it might take them a couple months longer for them to finally swipe. But when they do, they don't just ghost on you because your onboarding was one email off, or they didn't like the way that your coach taught them something, or they didn't like the way that you came out with your first, if you're doing done for you work like we do done with you work and done for you. They don't just ghost you, and they give you the benefit of doubt because you spent time building the relationship with them. And so you can have some mistakes. You can be a business. You're actually developing a partnership with them. It's completely different in terms of the warm leads that you get inbound versus being so desperate to hunt on the outside and then not really liking the client you have. With branding, you attract people in and you define who gets to work with you, and you disqualify the people who are a bad fit. So what this does, our clients, us included, we end up loving our clients. Like you won't find us in our Slack channels bitching and complaining about our clients. That doesn't happen. We're just like, do people have some narrow paths in the journey? Are people going through some hard stuff? Are people having challenges with a piece of it? Maybe we're working on their mission statement. They're getting really stuck around the axle. What can we do to help with them? Help them get to their next step. But you don't see us complaining about it, which what that does as agency owners, that makes us happy and excited and fulfilled to help our clients. So we continue to propagate that forward, as opposed to how many direct response marketers, you have 100 clients now and you hate your life. You don't know what happened. you're at 100K months, congratulations, but you hate it, and you're like, in the corner with like a bottle of wine, scrolling Facebook, wondering why your life turned out like this. It's like, congrats on your 2 comma club. You hate your life. And so then those businesses come back and they're like, wait, I think I should actually like be concerned about my brand because the money didn't do it for me. So branding is about the why and marketing is more about the how. And the two work together. And we're not opposed to direct response. Direct response is on a spectrum here. Branding is here. You need both. But in 2020 and 2021, there were people that were more in direct response. Now people are championing what brand looks like after Alex Hormozy, and you've got Ed Milet, you have Gary Vee, and you see these enormous influencer and brands. Now people are starting to come over to the brand side of the spectrum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Although you have guys like Gary Vee who've been preaching that since 2015, right?
Yeah.
Now only people are catching on. Listening to you talk, I think that one of, we deal on the paid media side from the marketing side with our done for you services. I think listening to you talk, I think one of the biggest reasons that I think brands may avoid branding is because one is they think it's logo and color.
Yeah.
And when they're faced with the other option of the why, they don't know. And it's very uncomfortable for a business that's making money to then sit there and say, I just don't know what my story is, what my brand is, and get out there. So I'm going to ignore this place altogether, when it's kind of like that you kind of have to take that step and then everything else gets figured out after that, because otherwise you're just banging your head against the wall. But listening to you talk, and you were saying it's the why and it's about deeper meaning behind everything. I feel like they just don't know what that is. They started it, they fell in love, the business turned into a business. All of a sudden, they had to make business transactions and they had to do a bunch of different things. COVID hit, it was very easy to be transactional at that moment. And now the landscape kind of shifted and they're like, I don't know where we stand. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling for a lot of business owners. I personally been there before. So I know exactly how they feel. Do you think that's also another reason why they may ignore it?
I think you nailed it and you drove it home of like, a part of them is worried that what if there is no deep why? What if I'm just colorless? Another part of them is worried, is this going to be really hard and time consuming, just cost a bunch of money, and I'm never going to make anything away from that. Another part of them is worried, what if it comes out that I hate my business and then I have to start over again? Maybe it's better if I wait. Some people are like, I just need to wait until, it's clear to me. Or they'll be like, I think I just need to wait until, January feels really good to do this. And I tell January start people that is a total BS dream that they have. It's like waiting to have kids. You're never ready. Like, it's in you. You got to trust the process. You got to work with the right people, work with people who are legitimate at the brand strategy. And when they think it's just logo and colors, and then we're explaining, no, it's the foundations of your business. It's a North Star. What is your mission statement? What is your vision statement? And people are like, oh yeah, I have that. I'm like, is it dusty in a Google Doc somewhere and you don't even remember it, much less your team? And they're like,
or did they even create it in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. They don't even have it in the first place. But if they do, they can't recite it. Their team, much less, can't recite it either. And so it's not actually in practice. And so I think a lot of smaller, whether they're agencies or business owners and stuff like that, they've been taught by that, like, I'm one funnel away. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, do you want to go look at those ads and see how they're doing? But zero party data is in, and the pixel stuff doesn't work after iOS 14. The targeting isn't what it used to be. So you saw it, all of like the ads agencies, media agency, digital marketing agency, many of them got swept by that tide, and people like yourself are still standing because you were legit to begin with. But now, even if you are, got your funnel working and you do ads and that's your main acquisition source, when you couple that with a strong organic marketing brand behind it, you convert more and more sales from your ad spend. So then you start to see like, wow, why is my ROI suddenly higher? How come I'm getting better clients? And then the client lifetime value is also increasing because you're attracting people through your mission, through your vision and your shared core values. So you start to attract the exact right people who end up winning with what you do. Because let's be honest, it's not what you do, it's do you connect with the person, the team, and the brand. If you can connect with how they function, they think, their character, their belief system, it creates trust, which then allows you to do the easiest part, which is we're an agency. Here's what we do for you. Here you go. We've done it for you. That is what creates a solid relationship. But if you don't have any relationship, all they're looking for is a transaction. Like, what's my CTR? What's my ROAS? How come you guys did this? They're going to nitpick you. But when you have an actual relationship, they're willing to let you and your team make mistakes. They're willing for 1 month to not go as planned. They're willing to test and split test and try strategies that you guys have, which that is a brand trust that you've earned because you were a part of the relationship, not a transaction.
So talk about your process, right? When it comes, a brand comes on board. First off, there's two questions with that. One is, I'm sure a lot of brands think, okay, I'll just outsource this. And I'll outsource my mission to you, and you'll create my mission for me, and you'll come back and build me a brand. I know you don't do that. So what's your process of when a brand comes to you and they're like, I just don't know, and they can't figure it out? Is it, you're not ready for us? And at what point should brands start looking? Is there a revenue number that you should be at before you're like, hey, I should hire, a branding agency?
Yeah, I would say at 20K revenue months or more is when you want to start thinking about a branding agency. Ideally 50K of revenue, and you've already outgrown your brand. And those are numbers I've seen hundreds of times over. So we actually will not let someone who's at less than 20K join our program unless they're building a second, third business XYZ. So they already have a primary model. They've done it before. They know what they're getting into. And let's say they haven't even done a similar model. I'm super straight up with them to say, hey, are you in complete understanding here that you will ROI much slower from this? And this is going to be more of your side hustle passion project. We still know what we're doing, but you will require more effort from us and our team because you have no idea what you're doing here. And they'll be like, yes, because they've already had a successful business that's at least at 7 figures and beyond. And now they're trying the next thing. So we make sure that they're going to have a good experience, and we're setting the expectation. So that's the revenue marker you want to be at. Way too many brands start getting obsessed with branding when they're less than 10K months. And I just want to tell all the people out there, if you're not 10K months on a consistent basis, stop worrying about what your branding is. That's not the problem. And it's a shiny object and it's distracting you. And I'm not going to work with you because I'm not going to allow you to get distracted from the work of what is your offer? Have you talked to your market?
Proof of concept.
Yeah, proof of concept, market, product fit. Have you actually got on calls? Like, where have you done the basics of business? Have you created demand? Are you fulfilling on that demand? And now are you iterating with that feedback? It's kind of basic. So when you're not at that level, I just will advise people that you're not ready for that yet. And don't let this like, oh, I see Alex Hormozy and his followers. Should I do that path? I'm like, there's no need to go, it's like you're learning to run and then you're like, I'm going to be Usain Bolt. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, you're not there yet. Like, can we run a mile that's under like 15 minutes? Let's start there. So that's the first thing I would address is 20K revenue and less. No, but the other mistake people make is they get to 30K revenue, they get to 50 and boom, they hit a ceiling. They don't know why. They're like, how come I can't get to 100K of revenue? Or if they're at 100K, they're like, how come I can't get to 250? If they're 250K months, they're like, why am I not at $1 million months anymore? So if you're hitting a plateau and you keep hitting a ceiling, you go up to it and you come right back down, or you're like this, it's probably branding. And you feel this, you get this inner sense that something is wrong with the brand. It's almost like an intuitive feeling. You're like, I don't feel like my branding is congruent. I feel like I look all over the map. I feel like we're not consistent. I feel like we've outgrown this, or my name doesn't fit us anymore. Or why is my business name my personal name? Am I not going to be able to sell this business later? Or is all of our website and logo and branding, do we look like we're newbies? Because We are having price objections on calls, but everyone knows we're the best at this. How come this is happening? So people get this like sixth sense that like, hey, your branding is off and you need to do something about it. So they usually come on the call and they'll say something like, hey, my messaging is off, or can you help me work on my positioning? And then we'll start working backward from there. But our process is like the concrete part of our process is an 8-week brandfluencer framework. And it's proprietary, so I'm not going to get too many details of what our process is. We're a category of one. We're not like any other brand strategists out there. I think it's because I don't know branding. And so I just made it the way it should have been, which branding should be supporting your top line revenue or your bottom line profits. If it's not doing one or the other, I don't give a shit about it. It's fluff. So we take people through that 8-week process. It's almost scientific. It guides people through it. So you have a consistent experience regardless of the entrepreneur there. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. What about where things get a little bit tricky? And that's as an owner, right? You have your business. There's a brand for your business, but there's also a brand for you as a person, as a personal brand. Sometimes it's hard to mesh those two together of like I'm going to speak for the business and I'm also going to have my personal brand. How do you vision the two tying in together?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oftentimes people come to us because like I described it this way, like a Venn diagram. Imagine one side is your personal brand, which is your name. So Bijal Patel, my personal brand. And then the other circle is my business brand, Launch. Most people, when they're less than 7 figures, the two circles completely overlap. They are one and the same. Bijal is Launch and Launch is Bijal. It's okay if you're less than 500K in revenue a year. It's okay. You're fine. Doesn't really matter. That's where like a lot of people are at. But after 500K and you're trying to get to $1 million of revenue and you have team, the team can't associate themselves with you and your personal brand. So the business owner or CEO becomes the bottleneck. It's like, you have to do everything. You have to have your face on everything. You have to do all the videos. You have to do the content. You have to do the sales. And the team has a really hard time even selling on your behalf because everyone has now gotten used to seeing your face and your name, and they've created trust with the personal brand rather than the business brand. So the team, you end up not attracting as many A players because they're like, oh, well, I can never be you. So I don't feel like I'm really a part of this. You say we, but it's really you. So your team can't attach to that personal brand. Business owners start to get super burnt out because if they ever step away from the business, they ever try to take a vacation, ever try to step backwards, delegate things out, boom, revenue is at a standstill, profitability goes down, and you could literally feel the business you're lucky if the business is at a stalemate because most of the time it's actually shrinking. And so what we do with most people who are at around 500K of revenue, or they're at $1 million, 2 million, even beyond that, we've worked with people who are at 8 figures. We are working actively to decentralize their personal brand and pull it out of the business brand so that we can take the ethos of who they are and inject it into the business brand. And the only way to do that is through an experienced brand strategist or an agency who's going to take the time, going to listen to you, has proven they're able to do that over and over again, so that they can pull out of you what you don't even know exists.
Kind of wrap up a little bit. I want to get tactical for a second. What are, in your mind, the top do's and don'ts for building your brand?
Okay. Top do's, stop waiting. If you're past 20K months and you have any feeling that you're not congruent, or your revenue has just plateaued, or you're up and down and you get that sense, like, I hate my brand name. Why do we look all over the map? I have brand shame. I try to not send people any of my brand assets, and I'm hoping I can get away with that. You need to just buck the bullet and go. If you feel like your messaging is off, you're tired of it, you're attracting, maybe an avatar is okay, your clients are okay, you don't hate them, but you don't want to replace. You can't imagine having 100 of them. You can't imagine having 10 of them. You don't want thousands of them. You're off track. Or your positioning. If you are being compared to other people, or you're getting a sense that your visibility is low. Hey, I'm putting out social media content. How come no one engages? Well, you don't know who you are. You haven't fully been born yet. So if you're not able to step in on a daily basis and own Like, this is what we were meant to do. This is our vision. Our team is pumped up. Our culture is on fire. Look at the A players we've attracted. Look at the way our clients look. Our revenues we're growing. Our profits are growing, and you're excited. Those are like the things that you want to pay attention to. And those are the things that you do want to focus on in relation to your brand. The don'ts. Do not buy anyone's branding. I won't sell it to you, but don't buy anybody's branding when you're less than 20K a month. It's not worth it, and stop wasting time there. The second thing is having a bunch of Canva templates and thinking you're owning the world because you can visually see that your brand matches is also not going to make you winning at life. Okay. It's not going to work. And the third thing related to branding is a complicated topic. And so you need someone who's world class at what they do. Otherwise, they will put you through a bunch of courses. You think you'll understand what branding is, and nothing will work afterward. So if you don't find yourself energized and on fire with what that branding is, you just got put through a framework that some coach wants to sell thousands of brand packages. And congratulations, my friend, you are their leverage. I don't think that is the right way to do branding. There is a customization to branding that must be related to you so that you can stand out from the masses. So if your person you're buying from is cheap and they're doing the same thing for thousands of people, great. You're going to end up as a cookie cutter version of every other person that's out there competing with you.
I think anyone listening to you talk right now could see, I think that's the ultimate testimonial or proof of what you could do, because the confidence that you're speaking with right now only comes when you're 100% aligned, congruent, confident, and know your brand. So, I mean, it's fun listening to you talk because whether you mean it or not, this is actually advertising for why you're as good as you are.
Well, thank you. I think that there are people in this space, and I love having competitors, and I honor the people who are actually great at what they do. And we learn from them, and it keeps our industry smart and sharp. It's just that this industry in particular doesn't have a lot of people who know what they're talking about. And then it ends up with people who have very vanilla content that's outsourced to the Philippines, and it looks like it. And
there's no barrier of entry in your line of work and my line of work. It's not like becoming a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer where you got to get a degree. I laugh during COVID times. Everyone started an agency because it was so easy to get online results. It was like literally a monkey could go run ads and get results. And then when, what do they say? When the tide goes out, you'll see who's swimming naked.
Yep.
And I think that's what happened. I want to leave you with one last question that's very near and dear to my heart. You're a very ambitious woman. You're married, very ambitious husband. You're parents. You're growing your business. You're an entrepreneur. You wear many hats. But how do you maintain? There's no such thing as balance. I don't find it. Randy Zuckerberg was on the podcast and called it lopsided balance at one point. How do you wear those different hats and go from one role to the other? And especially, you got to be a partner for your husband and support your husband. He's got to be a partner for you and support you, but you got to also then support your kids. You got to then support your clients. I think a lot of people listening to this right now, it's a daunting task. And you wear all those hats pretty well from what I see. So what's your advice? What's your secret?
Yeah. Well, I call it harmony, and someone taught me that because I had to pay for like a coach to teach me this stuff. I think I'm a work in progress. Like, I often look at myself and I say, why don't you have it better together? On days that I'm having a challenge and I'm challenged by a particular season. Just talking to to a client the other day, or a prospect. They were on the call and they were like, well, I don't know, like maybe I feel like I might be a bit overwhelmed. Maybe I should wait until 6 months, and maybe in January things will clear up. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, do you want to build an empire? And he's like, oh yeah. I go, then get stronger. Get stronger. I was like, you don't go to the gym and you don't curl 2-pound barbells and hoping you're going to come out strong. You have to curl 10-pound, 15-pound, 25-pound barbells, and then your muscles have micro tears and you get stronger. The reason I can handle all of those hats and I can change them and I can go through it is because I let the pressure grow me into strength. And I have people like you and people like our community to be able to, when I am having a bad day, to be able to laugh and joke and air out a little bit. But I see far too many entrepreneurs saying like, it's going to be too much, or I'm going to feel overwhelmed, or how do I do it all? Well, don't talk to yourself like that. Tell yourself, I'm going to do it all. Somebody else did it all. I want it all. And so one of my personal mantras is to have my cake and eat it too. And I really do like cake quite a bit. And so I just refuse to be a mom I didn't want to be a mom who had a side hustle. I want to build an empire, and I'm going to. I didn't want to just be a wife. I wanted to be a wife who was supporting my husband in his skills. And now I'm equity owner in one of his other businesses. And so I think you can do more than one thing, but when you are surrounded in an environment where people are like, how do you do it all, girl? It's like, well, some days I don't, some days I eat cereal for dinner and there's a lot of order out that happens. But I surround myself with people who elevate who I'm supposed to be. And I get in there and I make myself stronger. I make sure that I can carry that pressure. I make sure I can carry that weight. So even if I'm not having a record month, a record quarter, or a record year, and maybe we're even going backward, regardless of what's happening that quarter, I look at myself and say, did you grow stronger? Are you proud of who you are? Are you closer to the best version of you? When I can look in the mirror and say, yes, you took multiple hits to the face and you came back up and you're stronger, that's what winning looks like for me. So I think we need to kill these societal expectations of like, there's hat changes and you change your outfit and then you get a productivity guru and then they teach you how to time block. It's like, come on, this is a bunch of BS. You can take as many ice baths as you want, and you are still not going to day in, day out feel like you're winning at life. Okay. So there's some seasons I'm a better mom. There's some seasons I'm a better wife. There's some seasons I'm a better business owner. But my end goal is that I know I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to build it. And I identify as being an empire builder who is an amazing mom, who is an amazing wife. And those parts of my relationships come first. So I know what my pecking order is, but I'm not going to back myself away from the line. I'm not going to under deliver on what my soul's purpose is to be. So yeah.
I think you said it. It doesn't have to be or, sometimes it's and, it's both, it's all. You can do those things. And I think having kids is the ultimate grounding. You come home from feeling on top of the world and they'll make you feel very humbled coming home. Sometimes with having little kids, they'll humble you. You'll feel like the king of the world, and then you'll come back and they have a way of humbling you. But the same way, you could have the shittiest day possible and they come and they have a way of just like changing everything and making you see things. I appreciate you.
Let me ask you one more thing on that.
Go for it.
Especially with moms, because they struggle with that more so because we're not often given the provider role through society and expectations. I make sure my kids know what I do. I show them videos of me on Instagram. I show them clips of me talking. I show them my YouTube video and they think I'm like the coolest person on the planet. I tell them about my trips when I'm going. I definitely bring toys back every time I go to a trip. I FaceTime with them. I bring them into what I do, and I let them know that we do live in a world that requires money. So I'm teaching them things about what I'm learning, what I'm doing, where I'm failing. So they're invited in the journey, not kept outside of it like mommy's working. I make sure that I invite them into that so that we're all on the same team, championing each other up.
Oh, I agree. I've had my kids walk in on client meetings and I'm like, say hi. And like, not go 1 second, give me 5 minutes. I'm like, come here, say hi. This is, and I introduce them. They're young enough. And my wife's like, well, what if your client gets upset? I'm like, then they're not a right fit to be a client for me. So
exactly.
I could talk to you for hours, but I feel like you then get mad at me and call it an awful podcast if we just had you on for so long.
Who would do that? That's so weird.
I know, so rude to keep you posted. So look, for the listeners who want to learn more about how they can work with you, how can they find you? And we'll link everything up in the show notes.
Yeah, well, they can find me on Facebook. My personal profile is me. I'm on it all the time. Bijal.launch, BIJAL.launch. Or you can check us out on Instagram, same handle. And then we have our website, www.welaunch.design. So you can scope us out.
Amazing. Bijal, thank you so much. Really appreciate you.